सदाशिवसमारम्भाम् शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्ताम् वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्. I welcome you all with my love and respect. I'll introduce the Yoga Suprana program. Especially to the new participants. How many of you are attending Yoga Suprana these days? I think all of you may be aware. There is one more batch, but participants who are doing live listening, they are also here. I'll introduce this program. Participants, Yoga Suprana participants. This whole Yoga Suprana is based on Patanjali's Yoga Sutra. I'm trying to give Patanjali's Yoga Sutra in its essence, in its pure form, in 2 days as an experience to you all. Mainly aiming at physical and mental healing. Please understand, yoga can be used for so many purposes. In the West, what are names and what are purpose, you can't understand. No, when you see, if you just type yoga and Google it, something like 11 million websites are open. 11 million. All kinds of yoga. Super deluxe Kundalini yoga, hot yoga, cold yoga. All kinds of brands, all kinds of names, all kinds of forms for different purposes or sometimes purposeless. Here I am trying to present yoga, essence of yoga, mainly aiming at physical and mental healing. Patanjali's Ashtanga Yoga. Patanjali very beautifully gives the essence of yoga, 8 parts of yoga. Please understand, the Ashtanga word is not 8 steps, no, 8 parts. They are not step by step, one by one, no. They are all 8 supposed to be practiced simultaneously. Very beautifully, Patanjali describes Ashtanga, 8 parts, not 8 steps. All problems exist in the world of yoga today is because of misunderstanding of this one word. See, he has given some 8 things to practice every day. But people took it, first we should finish first, second, third. The problem is you can't finish the first one unless you start the 8th one. Because it is like a virtuous circle. One feeds the other. I'll explain to you, then you'll understand. The 8 parts. If you are new to spirituality and yoga, please understand these few technical terms. I usually give very less technical knowledge and more spiritual experience. But these few words are like the basic words. It's good you catch these words. These few technical terms, even if you remember the English meaning, that's enough. But I just want to introduce these technical terms. This is the essence of Patanjali's yoga. I can say this is the essence, purest form of yoga. Anything added or deleted from this loses its purity value. It may have sometimes utility value, but it loses its purity value. Here, I am trying to express exactly in Patanjali's own words, without any addition, interpretation, or interpolations. I am just presenting Patanjali's Ashtanga Yoga, this Yoga Spurana program, specially designed just to present what is yoga. Because in the West, we have an idea, just some body postures have become yoga. Very weird ideas they have about yoga. I saw yoga for pet. Ads, I saw news. Yoga for pet, yoga for vata. Anyhow, Patanjali never wrote any yoga for pet. I want you to know. He didn't write any Yoga Sutra for pet. He wrote Yoga Sutra only for human beings to become living beings. How many of you are attending first time here for yoga? Wow. Okay. I welcome you all into our family. Just few words for all of you, the newcomers. Give more importance to the practice. Even if you miss one or two terms, you are not able to catch it, it's okay. Give more importance to the practice. When you go back also, give more importance to the experience. Practicing these methods and techniques than just intellectual knowledge. The knowledge, the technical knowledge I am using just to inspire you. Just to give you the intellectual clarity so that you will start practicing. You will start diving into the program, into the meditation as intensely as possible. So please be intense. You need only intensity to go into the experience, not just technical knowledge. So for the LB participants, understand one more piece. It will be useful for all of you. You might not have done, many of you. I think every first time you are doing Yoga Spurana. You might have done yoga, but not this systematically learning. How many of you have not done Yoga Spurana? In yours also? Yes. First, Yama. Please understand. Yama means ethics. Law of cosmos. Please understand. Law of cosmos, not law of the country. Law of the country is different from law of the cosmos. If I were to give one example, law of the country means if you steal 100 rupee, little punishment. If you steal 2 crore rupee, big punishment. If you steal 200 crore, no punishment. That is different. It means by then you know the science of stealing. Law of the country means 2 rupee, less punishment, 2 crore, more punishment. The law of the cosmos, it's different. It is not the money you steal gives you the punishment. The suffering the other person goes through because of your stealing, that decides the punishment. You steal from somebody 2 rupee, and the fellow really suffers for that for 2 years, then you'll have a heavy punishment. If you steal 2 crore from somebody, the fellow doesn't even care. I have lot, it's okay, 2 crore, okay. He doesn't care, you will not have punishment. Law of cosmos records only the suffering you create for others. There is no economical value in law of cosmos. The cosmos money does not hold value. The fences does not hold value. The boundaries do not hold value. Boundaries are kept in the country so that to maintain an order. The law of cosmos works in a different way. then law of the country. Patanjali wants every human being, whoever is breathing the prana of the cosmos, the air of the cosmos, to know the law of the cosmos. Patanjali says very beautifully, when he speaks about this ethics, Sarvabhaumya Vrata, anybody in the cosmos should know these vratas. They are not restricted to any country or gender or nationality or creed or race or age. Please understand. I am not trying to teach you any ethics or trying to make you moral by teaching you Yama. All I am telling you is, if you know the secrets of the cosmic law, you can very easily run your life without falling sick, getting into unexpected karmas. Many times, by not knowing the law of the Yama, you get into unexpected karmas, unexpected accidents, unexpected negativity around you. I tell you one thing. Any advice for the newcomers? I have to tell very clearly. Please understand, I myself have experienced the law of cosmos. So I tell you very clearly, whether you believe it or not, understand or not, accept or not, still law of cosmos is alive, active and getting executed very clearly without any difference. Law of cosmos is alive, please understand. Do not think, no, it's Kali Yuga, Iron Age, no law gets executed, it's all just one story, might is right. No. I tell you, I have experienced. I tell you from my experience, one more thing. When I talk to you something, I feel responsible that you may follow my words. So I am sensitive about it. That is why I am saying, whenever you take major decisions in your life, understand the law of cosmos is still alive. Law of cosmos still works. You may say, no, all the current fellows are sitting in the high pedestals and there is no law, there is no order, everything is chaos. No. Please understand, you may not know the secrets of the cosmos, how the law of cosmos works, but still it is very alive. I will spend little time explaining the law of cosmos and taking your questions on this law of cosmos. Because only this Yama is understood, this law of cosmos is understood, 80% of your extraordinary sufferings can be avoided. See, in your sufferings, 80% are beyond your control. 20% are only under your control. The 20% can be healed just by your intelligence. This 80% are the beyond suffering, like diseases which comes, or the accidents which happens, or forced poverty, or things bad. You can't play any role, you are just being pulled and pushed. Those kind of situations can completely be avoided in your life. The whole thing, you will be God at least for your life. Anybody who knows Yama means the law of the cosmos, very beautifully Bhashyakara, one commentator explains, he will be God at least for his life. If he continuously leads the law of cosmos and gets more and more intense experiences, that period only I call living enlightenment. If he reaches a certain level, very strong conviction on the law of cosmos, he becomes an avatar Purusha, incarnation, inside. This is the steps. First, the person who internalizes the law of cosmos, he became God for at least his own life. He will become God for his own life. Means The whole thing will be under his control. Whether it is disease or old age or anything, he will be completely in tune with the life. Second step, if he continues to practice the law of life, law of cosmos, and accepts, internalizes more and more and more experiences, that period is what I call living enlightenment. Means confirming every law of life in his own life, verifying the existence of law of life in his own life. That clarity, that inner space is what I call vidarka, means right reason. For newcomers, sorry if I am throwing too many Sanskrit words, I am talking to the people who are experienced, the LB students also are so-called experienced. But I will answer your question. Says the newcomers, please raise your hand. I will give you time to all of you and answer all your questions and doubts. So any question, doubt you have, please note down. I will see that you are also able to catch this whole 2-day workshop. You don't have to be sitting like a child lost the temple festival. In Indian villages, the kids will be lost in the temple festival. They will be sitting in one corner without knowing what is going on. Why is it purposely lost? That is different. If you understand the law of cosmos, a lot of sufferings can be avoided, like this law which I said. Another important law I might tell, ahimsa and himsa. Only these two place a major main shaft pin of this whole law of cosmos. See, the law of the country, the basic rule is human beings are responsible for their action. This is the basic idea. Based on that, the country's laws are built. The cosmic law, the basic idea is ahimsa, means non-violence. First law, the first thing is based on non-violence, ahimsa. You don't need anything else except this one word. If you just internalize this one word, verbally, mentally, physically, you will not enter into other space. That's all. That's the first law. Patanjali is saying, cosmic law. When I'll first finish this yama, then I'll go to the next steps. See, first the yama, Patanjali teaches you how to relate with the world, cosmos. Second, the niyama, it teaches you how to relate with your own body. Third, it teaches you how to relate with your breathing system. So, third is the internal organs. Asana, how to relate with your internal organs. Third. Fourth, how to relate with your breathing system. Fifth, how to relate with your inner chattering mind. Sixth, how to relate with your emotions. Seventh, how to relate with your consciousness. That's what is restful awareness. Eighth, how to relate with the whole cosmic consciousness. Samadhi. Understand? First, how to relate with the outer world. Second, how to relate with your body. Third, how to relate with your internal organs. Fourth, how to relate with your breathing system. Fifth, how to relate with your inner chattering mind. Sixth, how to relate with your emotional system. Sixth, how to relate with your consciousness. Seventh. And eighth, how to relate with the cosmic consciousness. So this is all about relating, means uniting. Uniting means yoga. Yoga means uniting. Patanjali is giving you how to unite yourself. with all these different levels. First I'll give you the details on Yama. The main cosmic laws. Please understand. I am not asking you to practice this as a morality. No, I am not asking you to practice this as a morality. I ask you to understand the utility value of these great moralities. Utility value. How these things directly enrich your life. First thing, ahimsa. As I said, the whole cosmos is built. Please understand. When this cosmos happened, the one and only understanding handed over to the cosmos is there is no 10 commandment. There is only one commandment. That one commandment is let you all coexist happy. That's all. Let you all coexist. Sarve jana sukhino bhavantu. Let all of you exist happy. That's all is the basic rule or the basic understanding. So naturally, ahimsa becomes the first cosmic law. Please understand. Never violate this one. The moment you violate ahimsa, you just invite the cosmos to, you can say, to reject you, to reject your existence, to shut itself away from you. It's like existence turning its face to you, turning its face away from you. The ahimsa is the first, foremost cosmic law. One more thing. When you try to be violent, actually you will be suffering more than the person whom you are torturing. If you look deeply, you will not go to hell after becoming violent. If you are violent, you are already in hell. Understand this truth. You can see in your life. If you are in good mood, very happy mood, even if your worker drops a glass and breaks, you will say it's okay, it won't die by itself, this is the way it will be liberated, go leave it. If you are in your usual mood, regular mood, he doesn't need to break anything, he just comes in front of you, he will have puja. He will have your blessing. The moment darshan, he gets your darshan, he will have your blessing. You are a kalpataru who gives without asking. Even I am a kalpataru who gives only after asking. You will be a kalpataru. Anybody comes in front of you, they don't even know sometimes why you shouted. Not only the person who gets here, you will not know why you are so aggressive, agitated. Understand? It's based on your mood, whether you are going to be violent or non-violent. So, violence does not bring hell. If you are already in hell, you behave violently. Violence and self-torture are very closely connected. Sadism and masochism are very closely connected. If you are sadist, you will be masochist. Be very clear. We always think, no, when I abuse others, I will use very strong words. But when I talk to myself, I will use very light words. You are not that intelligent. Be very clear. I tell you some of my own discoveries. A person who constantly criticizes others will not have confidence on himself because he will be constantly criticizing himself inside. Please understand. If I am writing commentary on Patanjali Yoga Sutra, actually I am writing, all of you may be aware, I am writing. We are trying to come out with 120 volumes. 170 sutras are there. Each sutra I wanted to come out with a volume. Maybe 200-300 pages. 200-300 pages on each sutra. I am working. And I already finished 7 sutras. 7 sutras I finished. The first thing you need to understand, we always think we can be violent with others and we can escape from violence from others. You may be intelligent enough to escape from violence from others, but you are not that intelligent to escape the violence which you will do to yourself. Usually, whenever I meet a lot of people, when these guys come and start criticizing all other Swamis, oh, this Swami is like that Swami is like that Swami is like that, you are nothing like that, you are great, you are the ultimate, you are the genuine, I used to be afraid. Because this fellow has the habit of criticizing. The moment he has the habit of criticizing, when he steps out of my presence, what will he talk? Be very clear, the moment you have a habit of criticizing, you are dangerous. Not only for others, even for you. Even for you. Even for yourself. So violence is not one-edged sword, it's double-edged sword. If you hit others, you will hit with the same force on yourself. So use right words, right actions, right thinking with the world, with others. Do not think you can be violent with others and you can save yourself from violence. No, it does not happen. It does not work. So violence is if you are shouting 10 abusive words to somebody, be very clear, those 10 words you will use it on you when you fail in some project. And you create a very strong guilt. Person who constantly criticizes others will carry a very deep guilt because the same criticizing words only he will use it on himself when he is in low mood. All of you understand what I am saying? So be very clear. Keep your whole system clean. That is the only way. That's the only way. So be non-violent for yourself, not for others' sake. Please understand what I am talking are very deeper level truths from my own experience. If I write how the ahimsa should be practiced in the modern day, this is what I will say. Practice ahimsa. Practice non-violence, not for the sake of others, but for the sake of you. If you are using abusive words and actions towards others, do not think when it comes to you, when you are not up to your expectations, you will use that same negative words only to criticize you, to judge you, and you will start suffering. The person who is criticizing others will carry a deep guilt about himself. If you are suffering with deep guilt, I tell you, the first technique to come out of the deep guilt is stop criticizing others. That's all. You will just come out of guilt. One more thing. Any word which you are constantly using on others will get recorded into your system. If you are using some very dirty word towards others, don't think you will just use it on others and forget about it. No. Any word which you use it on others, dirty word, you will use it on yourself and you are in low mood. So naturally that word will create a deep guilt. Alright, I am talking very deep psychological truths. The truths which if you look deep, you will experience how true and straight is yourself. Now whatever I am saying, try to apply in your own mind. When you start using negative words towards others, immediately, within 2-3 months, you will start using the same negative words towards yourself. When you are in low mood, at least 5-6 times. Any word, negative word used on yourself, when you are in low mood, creates a guilt engram. That's all. You are caught. It's like a spider building a cobweb to catch its prey, food. But finally, somehow, that fellow himself got stuck. So you are creating a web to abuse others, but you will be caught finally end of the day, in it. Any same day, murderous person will always be suicidal. Because he knows the law. If somebody should not exist, he should be killed. So he knows the law. Naturally, what he will do? When he wants that I should not exist, when he thinks I should not exist, what's the solution? Suicide. A non-violent person. Hey, if somebody should not exist, if somebody should not disturb me, let me move out of his life. That will be the non-violent approach. Let him carry on his own life, let me move out of his life. It's a non-violent approach. If you are tuned for non-violent approach, when you have a problem in you, naturally what will you do? Let me move out of the problem. Let it go. But when you have the violent approach, you should not disturb me, you should not exist in the planet Earth. Then, when you have some problem with you will say, let me disappear. Understand? Violent attitude towards others is responsible for many diseases you create on you. The many diseases you create on you, especially the disease related to prana, the wheezing, asthma, all the diseases, please be very clear. If you are carrying chronic wheezing and asthma, somewhere very seriously, you are carrying virus. Just get that out. Get that out. That's the basic reason. See, I am not criticizing you. Please understand. When I say this, I want you to internalize and look inside and remove those negative engrams, the violent engrams. All disease related to prana, wheezing, asthma, heart diseases, all the things are directly connected to violence, to ahimsa. Next, satya means truthfulness. Ahimsa means non-violence. Second, satya. All these terms put the same series of policy. Ahimsa, satya, parigraya, steya, brahmacharya. How he describes this. Satya means truthfulness. Please understand the utility value of the truthfulness. Let me tell you from my own experience. Mind is a component you carry. Vak is another component you carry in you. Mind means where thoughts are rising. Vak means where thoughts get converted into words. Please all of you understand. Mind is thoughts. Vak is words. If these two are in tune, you will carry an extraordinary energy, clarity about your life. You will know very clearly what next. Ramakrishna says in his teachings, the whole essence of spirituality, everything is nothing but making your mind and words in tune. That's all. Please understand. Understand this one secret. If you are constantly telling a lie, by and by, unfortunately, you will start believing it. Not just others, you will start believing it. How many understand this one story? Brahmacharya. This word is the most confused, most misunderstood word. Brahmachari, a story in a very old monastery where the original version of the Bible was preserved, where they take copy, handwritten copies, and publicize it. In that monastery, few hundred years before they took the decision, for no reason they touched the original. They made one copy of the original. From that copy only, they will take copies and circulate. One day, the head of the monastery was seen early morning crying profusely. All the followers gathered and asked, "What happened? Why are you crying so much?" He said, "A big mistake happened. Today I went and spent time with original copy. And the copy which he used for copying, there was a big mistake." He was crying. This guy said, what is the mistake? One letter was missing. The original letter was there, and the next original, from which we are taking copies, that the letter was missing. One letter. All this case asked, one letter only, why are you bother so much about it? Don't bother so much about it. Why are you crying just for that one letter? It's okay. He said, no, that's very important letter. They asked, what is the letter? It is one R missing. Original word is celebrate. The R was missing in the copy. The word celibacy needs to be understood. Brahmacharya is not equivalent to celibacy. Celibacy word is too superficial word. Brahmacharya means, I can say in a way celibacy also, but living like existence, not just celibacy. Celibacy is like a dead silence. Mauna means vibrant silence. So the Mauna word cannot be translated as silence. So Brahmacharya word cannot be translated as celibacy. You may be keeping away from any physical relationships, but that does not mean you will be dull or depressed or missing. Every moment you will feel that ecstasy happening inside your body itself is too much. Understand? Experiencing that and keeping away from the relationships keeping away can be called as Brahmacharya. The initial level, keeping away from relationships, even the LV I told you guys not to touch anybody for 3 months. This will all help. But this itself is not Brahmacharya. You should understand, this itself is not Brahmacharya. This is a path to Brahmacharya, but not the end. The end is ecstatic flowering, joy, radiating bliss, living like existence. Understand? The 5 great yamas, 5 great truths. Patanjali calls these 5 as Sarvabhaumya Vrata, means cosmic law for every being. Sarvabhaumya. These are the Vratas. Understand this cosmic law. I tell you, just understand and internalize. You will simply be able to live. Nothing else is required. You don't have to fight at all. You will simply be able to live. Next, Niyama. Just I introduce Niyama. Niyama means routine, personal cleanliness. It is nothing much to know. Almost all of you are educated. You know the Niyama. Any educated middle class man does not need any special Niyama. Just if you understand this, that's enough. I will give you the introduction. Saucha means cleanliness. Take bath every day, brush your teeth, that's all. Santosha means try to always be happy. Try to always be happy. Always work for happiness. Don't try to create sadness for you and others. Tapas. Tapas, you need to understand. Even when some truths are not becoming experience, just because they are ultimate truths, if you try to practice in your life, that is called tapas. Practicing the great truths, even if they have not become experience in your life now, but you know it is going to become experience, practicing them, those great truths is called tapas. Swadhyaya means read some spiritual literature every day. Every day. I always request people to read my Living Enlightenment book. The Living Enlightenment book every day, at least half an hour. Because those ideas should go constantly inside and cleanse your system. Ishvara Pranidhana. Every night, completely offer everything at the feet of existence and sleep. Relax. It is not a big morality, just a kind of a lifestyle. Simple lifestyle changes. But all these things put together can do so much inside your system. Can add so much to your system. Understand? Saucha means cleanliness, taking bath and brushing the teeth and washing also. Santosha means trying to be joyful. Tapas means practicing these great truths even before they become experience in you. Swadhyaya means studying every day, at least half an hour, some spiritual literatures. Ishvara Pranidhana means offering everything at the feet of existence, God. So I understand this yama and niyama. I don't want you to practice as morality. No. I am not giving one more morality for you. No. I want you to understand the utility value of these great truths. And whatever you understood will happen automatically inside, blissfully. So, asana is the third part. All of you may be now having the printout. Asana is working with your internal organs, means healing your body through bending it properly, making your body to fall in tune. I'll be here and guide. Yogacharyas will show you the pose. We can start doing. One important thing I want to tell you from my experience. Asana is not just exercise. Asana raises your consciousness also. That is why I can't practice asana. If I do any asana, body falls into samadhi. I don't do any asana. I only teach, I don't do. Because the moment I stretch the body in that postures, immediately the kundalini shoots up and body falls into samadhi. It means what? What I don't do, you should do actually. Because now I don't do yoga because already I am constantly in samadhi, it's doing too much. So I will have to come down. In your case, you have to go up. Where more you will go down? In your case, you have to go up. So, do the things which raises the kundalini. In your case. In my case, I have to do the things which settles the kundalini. So, you are supposed to do what I am not doing. You should not do what I am doing. Usually, when I eat, I will never be able to eat directly. I will have to have at least one pepper. I have to divert my attention, only then food will go inside. Because whenever I am aware of my existence, I am feeling completely full. Putting food inside is a big job. Kids will never eat. The big problem is because they feel so much energy. That's why it's such a big headache to feed them. You have to show the moon, these, that, everything. Same thing for me actually. It's very difficult for me to put the food inside. So I have to show this paper, that paper. That time only I will get all the documents. And I will be looking at here and there and push the food inside. But you are supposed to eat with awareness. You should not do this. You should, when you eat, you should not distract yourself at all. But in my case, if I don't distract, I always feel so full, overflowing, food doesn't go inside. Wonderful session on the 5 yamas made me think very hard about my life till date and what I need to strive for in the future. Swami Dhyanapidam has taught me simplicity, authentic appreciation for life, lack of creature comforts, above all sense of responsibility. I received a wonderful spiritual education, great ambience, good friends, living with the master, and above all the energy field, banyan tree. I'm sure my wife will be very happy to see me domesticated, washing my dishes, doing my laundry, making up my bed. What she could not get me to do in 22 years, you have made me do in 4 days. Actually, sometime when people come for sannyas training, I tell them, what I am not able to do for many years, wife does in 2 days, making them humble. I have seen these guys when they come for training, sometimes these brahmacharis come for training. When I feel really that these guys can't be trained, it is very difficult. I tell them, go and get married. When they get married, in 1 year, that fellow is completely trained. And now he knows politeness, humbleness, living together, all the things. So sometime, what master can't teach, wife will teach. Sometime what wife can't teach, master teaches. Maybe we complement each other. If you eat non-veg and heal others, you will have skin problems. That is why I am saying don't do. Because the energy can't be radiated through a nervous system which is non-veg or alcoholic. Then there will be internal confusion. It should not happen. That's why. Does Karna had compassion or not? Karna had a more or less like a name-fame based charity. He is not the guy who was compassionately compassionate. He was more giving only. Giving itself is not compassion. Compassionate is like every act will radiate it. You don't give me sitting and distributing things. You understand? It's radiation in the action. It was more like establishing the brand. There is a fatty acid that is essential for body, which is derived from fish oil. I wanted to ask you that if this is interpreting with healing energy for others, I would stop taking them. Don't take. No fish oil also. Fish is also non-veg. Fish oil also is non-veg. So no non-veg. If you want to heal others, I expect you to practice this. This whole thing takes only 12 to 13 minutes. If you practice without the interference of these yogacharyas. Now if you practice on your own, without the instruction, it takes only 12 to 13 minutes, 12 to 15 minutes. I expect and request all of you to practice this every day.